Ah, hello, dear friends. Thank you for joining me for another painting session. My first video, I painted for the very first time, and for those of you who watched it, I of course have a great many things to learn before I can paint to a competent level, but I enjoyed it so much. I couldn't wait to purchase some more acrylic paper and some new brushes and just continue on this journey with you all. So today, I think I'm going to leave buildings for a while. I have many things to learn before I think I come back to buildings, but I think I'm going to go with a landscape. I very much enjoyed drawing the trees in the last painting, the tree. So I'm thinking of doing a landscape of a valley. And the valley that I'm thinking of in particular is Cardingmill Valley in Shropshire. Now, if you haven't been to Shropshire before, I recommend Google image searching it, and you'll see it's a lot like Middle Earth. Beautiful countryside, beautiful county, rolling hills of beautiful verdant greens and brambles and craggy rocks. It's just one of the most beautiful places of this country, I think. What I'm going to attempt to do here is recall some of my art lessons at school and work with perspective. Oh dear, that's so we want things to work with. This is our focal point. Everything's coming into this as the focal point. And I want to paint around that, so, I mean, looking at it, it looks wrong already, but maybe this was an unnecessary step, but I'm going to try and attempt to do this from memory as well. So, there is a particular angle. Let's go with a path here. The path twists round, but then is obscured by rock faces. As it gets smaller, it kind of leads into this perspective point here in the distance. Does that make sense? Does that? I don't know, of course that would. Okay. So there, this valley is Cardingmill Valley, and I think it's part of the Long Mynd. The Long Mynd is a beautiful part of countryside. There's a road down here, by the way, so I'm trying to get that right. The road leads down here with car parking, etc. Kind of obscures down here. And this is a kind of bank that verges around. And then at the bottom here, you've got a brook. There's this little brook that also kind of like goes around a little mini island, a little stony brook. And then here you have like kind of car parky, muddy bits. Then you have like the other side. Actually, this perspective thing is helping me. This is helpful actually, so I'm glad I did that. The other side you have a massive hill. And then on the hillside you've got, I suppose, like different levels, and you've got brambles all around it and things like that. And then in the background you've got further hills, etc. that roll around at the top there, and then you've got the sky. I hope I remember what I've done here because it's not the clearest. But that's a rough outline of what this valley looks like. So the Long Mynd, yes, it's like there's this beautiful trailing brook that runs through valleys. This is the entrance, I suppose, this initial valley, Cardingmill. There's a stony path here that leads you down to the bottom of the valley. You can drive to it at the bottom here as well and park on the bottom. There's a cute little National Trust cafe just behind where this hill is. And you can park around the bottom, and then you go on long bushes, it's just long rolling hills, and there's a big reservoir at the end of one of them. There are trees running up this hill, I think, as well, if I remember. I think what'll be an interesting exercise is if I paint this first and then look at the picture with like a memory test. So I think things like you've got things like bushes obscuring the pathway there as well, and then that obviously goes down here. I need to remember that, and you do get things like trees and things that hang off the top of the bank, they kind of arch out of the bank. So just by laying down this pencil outlay, I feel already that I'm being incredibly ambitious. There are a lot of elements here, so this could be exciting, couldn't it? And I hope I can overlay these pencil marks as well, because they're quite thick in some places. This central point is perhaps gone a little bit thick with the paint, with the pencil, sorry. Speaking of paint, I think we're going to have to mix some today, so let's go with the sky first. We've got a cerulean blue here, and I think I want to make it quite a very light sky. It is rarely, whenever I've been at least, rarely been very, very, very sunny. I mean, of course it is from time to time, but let's mix this blue with a little bit of white to make it very, very pale. Maybe if I'm lucky, I'll mix it to such a degree that it can look like a slightly overcast day. But let's have a look. Let's mix these two together and see what colour we get. White and cerulean blue. One of the new paintbrushes I got was a thicker one, so that'll be helpful. Let's mix these two colours together and see what we come up with. Okay, it's a little bit lighter, but I think I want it lighter than that. Can you see? It's still very ocean blue, I think. Don't want the sky to look like something out of Avatar. Let's get a bit of more of a lighter blue down cast sky. Let's add a little bit of white here. So like even mixing paint colours is something that of course I am not familiar with, and there's an art to it, to mixing colours within itself, I'm guessing. That's better. That's what I'm looking for, I think. It's coming on thick. We might even be able to do some okay. These new paintbrushes I bought, they don't quite feel right. They're very stiff, as you can see. It's almost as if somebody's already painted with them, not properly cleaned them off, and then put them back in the pack. Not great. I'll have to have words with the vendor. Why am I kidding? I don't have words with anybody. I'm somebody who, you could serve me a toad in my soup in a restaurant and I still wouldn't want to complain for fear of making a scene. Well, it looks like, although I have made this a little bit lighter, we are still very much in lovely sky blue territory, which is okay. Just means it changes the light scheme of the hills and the valley. I'm quite happy to get things on quite thickly though. It's going on quite thick, which is nice. This is more of what I thought of when I was painting. Maybe even today we can use those palette knives that I've not used before. I was thinking maybe we could use the palette knives to create some happy little clouds. Channel my inner Bob Ross, do happy little trees, happy little clouds. Yeah, it's really not good. This brush, I'm not happy. It's really not what I wanted. Oh. Here we go. A little bit over there. Creating there. Well, at least least I'm laying it on so thick that the pencil marks are going. There's that, I suppose. One thing I enjoy so much about this process is how you can just make your peace with it. It doesn't have to be perfect, because you can keep coming back to it and layering up elements and adding bits here and there to kind of add to the overall sheen. And again, I learned a lot of this from watching other YouTube painters and artists, just the layering up process. If I would have tried to approach this process without at least viewing some content beforehand, I think I would have just, tried to do everything perfect first time and become frustrated and find it quite difficult, etc., etc. Okay. I mean, the colour isn't too bad. It's a nice blue. It's a consistent blue. So that's okay. Uh-oh. Got a little bit of paint on the sheet there, but never mind. Okay, so what is next? Now we have these hills. I think we should do it layer by layer. So we have the hills next. Now, the hills. I think we're going to, because we're going to have to play with shades of colour here to get a sense of depth. And we're going to want to think of where our sunlight is coming from to provide that sense of depth. So if the sunlight is behind us looking at this painting, shadows will be cast in this direction, heading back into the valley. So these areas would be slightly darker green than these lighter greens here. I think this very much is a case of, let's go with some base colours, primary base colours, and then from there we'll layer up and we'll add colour as we go. So in my pack I have two different types of green. We have Prussian green, which looks like the darker of the two. And we have here a permanent green. Well, that's threatening, isn't it? But actually, I can't really tell much of a difference between those two. I think permanent green is slightly lighter than Prussian green, so let's go with Prussian green. And that'll be a darker green, so we want to go with the... Yeah, that's quite a dark green. It's almost like a bluey green, actually. Let's go with that, though. And that can form the... hill at the back, at the rear. Okay. Again, a very stiff brush. What is going on with these brushes? So I put this as the bottom point here. Oh, I can hear that. That is awful. It's like a pen. It's like a fountain pen. Was I supposed to wash these? Was that part of the instructions or something? I have to beat it a little bit. Right, okay. Oh dear. Oh dear, dear. Okay, well, let's just... Oh, dearie me. Oh, dearie me. Let's just see where it takes us. I think I'm going to have to do a few coats of this. Put it on quite thick. Interesting, do you think it's just because I mixed the two acrylics up top that meant they were thicker, so naturally laid on a bit more like oils? Or something else happened there? Oh my word. I've literally bought some fountain pens, you guys. This is awful. Okay. Right, well we've got our rear hill here. Can I add more? Maybe for now I'll just make it a consistent colour. I mean, it's not a bad colour. It's quite nice actually. Now that I'm layering, like kind of smoothing it out a little bit. Okay, that's not too bad. That's okay. That's okay. So now then, let's go for permanently green and see if this provides provides a nice contrast to our valley. Permanently green, let's have a look. Based on the tube, it looks like it's going to come out as almost exactly the same colour. Yeah, it looks incredibly similar. Let's see though, is this the case? Let me just break off the weird stuff on these new brushes. I suppose you pay what you get for them. I cheaped out. I went for a relatively cheap option. Yeah, that is straight up the same green. I don't know about you, but that looks exactly the same. That offers no contrast whatsoever. So if that's the case, our good friend white is going to come in and add a little bit of lightness to proceedings, so we can get some depth and definition on our hills here. Okay, let's whiten you up a little bit. Looks like I'm making toothpaste. Quite delicious. Now, the worry I've got here is that I've just mixed up these colours and it is lighter, but does this actually look like grass anymore? Does this look like a hill? I mean, yeah, we've got a lot. Yeah, okay, that's alright. That's okay. Let's go with this lighter colour as a subtle definition, a subtle change in colour, which is what I was kind of going for. So we've got this bit down here, we're going to make there. We're going to paint out this angle here. Oh. There are some people who I'm guessing must be watching this and hearing the sound of this paintbrush, and it's almost like running your fingers down a chalkboard for them, or chewing cotton wool. Those horrible sound. Okay. Not perhaps the nicest, most tingly sound of a paintbrush that I was going for when thinking about this video, but I mean, at the end of the day, you can see what this is at least supposed to be, to a degree. You can tell that this is a valley of some sort, right? To a degree. To a degree. Okay. I mean, I don't know if it's the medium as well, is it? I'd love to. I don't think I've actually, out of all of the video content that I've watched on painting, I don't think I've watched much painting with acrylics. I've seen a lot of painting with oils or watercolours. Is the medium itself quite difficult to work with, or is it like a kind of, you know, what are the thoughts on the medium? Okay, well, there is clearly a delineation between this valley side here and the one at the back. You can see this, it's subtle, but you can certainly see the difference between the two. And you've got this side as well. Now I think I need to do a little bit more paint here. Let me add a bit more white to, not blue, that would be, it's like we're on an alien planet. Okay, let me add a little bit of white to this dark green. It'll provide a slightly different shade of hillside perhaps, but like I mentioned before, they looked kind of the same. Of course, the chemistry of this is that I could end up adding a different ratio of white to green and it could be a different colour entirely. But then again, that's kind of what I want. I want a little bit of variance between all of these colours so you can distinguish the different sides of the valley. This one looks like it's going to be much lighter. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. I've gone over our path. Oh no. That's okay, as long as I remember where it is. And paint over accordingly. reason I know and love Cardingmill Valley in Shropshire is because my grandmother lives there. She lives in Shropshire, and I've been visiting there ever since I was a very young child, as far back as I can remember. It's a wonderful, sleepy, small town. One of those which its town is basically a high street, and then kind of rows of housing and streets off the back of that. But I've got such fond memories. I grew up, and I think I can attribute my love of history and castles and things like that to Shropshire. It's a very historic area, a location. You got a lot of castles and forts. It's near the border of Wales, so historically a lot of outposts and things there from on the English side and Welsh side. You've got places like Stokesay Castle, Ludlow Castle. You got, Shrewsbury, where Charles Darwin came from, I believe. Lovely towns and cities. If you associate England with being very yieldy and being full of rich architecture and beautiful rolling hills and stately homes and old buildings and castles, etc., then you can't go wrong with visiting Shropshire. It's very much what it's all about. Okay, I'm getting a sense of valley here, which is nice. We have our path. We have our... Now this is the challenging bit, using colour to note that this is actually a ridge. So this is an ever decreasing, that's far onto the ground. And this is a ridge that leads down to the brook and leads down to that road, and that is flat, that is angled, that is flat. Gonna have to do that with colour. So this is where it gets interesting. I suppose the first thing we can focus on is just painting this ridge anyway, because it's still this side, so we still want it to be of a lighter colour, and it leads down, it rolls down off this path here. These brushes, maybe I should change brush and have a more precise brush here, not my chunky fountain pen. Let's lead that around there. I'll use a finer pen for the pathway anyway, but my path is leading down there, culminating at a road there at the bottom. Okay, so we've got that there. Now, do I add even more white to make this flat bit whiter, or will that be okay? Is that different enough here? Maybe we'll get away with this. Let's see. Okay, here we go. I have very fond memories of, as a child, there used to be a toy shop at the bottom of the high street in Shropshire, in the town where my grandmother lives. And it's not there anymore. I think it's a dog groomer's or something now, but every time we went, I would get a Thomas the Tank Engine model to add to my collection. I loved trains, I loved a Thomas the Tank Engine. My grandmother used to live, she's moved further down into the town now, but used to live on the hill just before this valley. That's why I know it so well. So you could literally turn up the front door, turn left, and white paint a real workout. I don't think white's going to even survive to make clouds, you know, but we'll see. We have a colour called raw lumber, which is a very dark, raw umber rather. It looks like it was a very dark brown. That could be useful for our bushes, and we've got bramble that's dotted around the trees as well, which we will make slightly reddy orangey. I guess though for now we're going to have to mix a black with a lot of white to create this road at the bottom here. Yeah, okay. But some black, mostly white. And at the bottom of this valley I mentioned that there is a cafe. There are a couple of memories that I have of that cafe as well, which are there is this I don't know if it's still there, but there's like this big model of the valley, a big model of the Longmynd area, so like all the rolling hills and things like that. And I used to love it as a kid because there would be these buttons that you could press that would light up. There were lights in the model, so they would light up an area of the valley, and orange to denote what you were looking at, based on a description that the button was next to. And I used to love that. I used to find it endlessly fascinating. But one of the real reasons why I loved visiting the cafe so much is that I always wanted a feast lolly. If you're not familiar with what a feast lolly is, it's a chocolate ice cream lolly. A kind of hazelnutty, hard shell chocolate shell on the outside with chocolate ice cream inside, and then inside that you've basically got a chocolate bar that sits inside. So you eat through the ice cream and the shell to get to this thick chocolate bar in the centre. And it doesn't matter if it was raining, hailing, snowing, sunny, I would have a feast. It's almost like a ritual. If I'm there, I'm having my feast lolly. And I even went relatively recently, maybe about, I say recently, probably about a year or two ago, which is a shame actually. I do really need to go back. I've made way too much paint for this, but let's do it. This brush just does not lay. It's a bad. Okay, I'm getting rid of this brush. This bad brush. Let's pop that back here. Yes, I went a couple of years ago or so, and I still had to do it. They had it. Oh, look at this. Right, so I just changed out to one of my original brushes that came with this kit to begin with, and look at the difference. Look at that. It is completely, it's completely different. It lays it on in one consistent stroke. There isn't any, there is no issue with the texture. It's all coming off in one nice, neat area. Oh dear, that's a shame. Why am I now? Well, the moral of this story, ladies and gentlemen, and all, is you do get what you pay for. If you want good art supplies, you need to invest. I'll use this colour again for a couple of the stones for this area here, I think. But that is our road. And then let's do our pathway. So for the pathway, it's like a stony, dirty road, pathway. So as a base colour, this looks like it might do the trick. It's yellow ochre. I've got a feeling it might come up a little bit too yellow, but we'll have a look. Just drop the paint lid there. Let's open it up with another one. Okay. yellow, which is okay, but I think it needs to be mixed with a bit of white to ease off the intensity of that. I'm going to have to buy another white before I paint again because I'm using a lot of it here. Okay, I'm going to have to go with one of the better brushes as well, even though it's smaller, because this path is a bit of a focal point, and if it looks ropey, it's just going to make the whole thing ropey, he says very optimistically. Okay, so this is now, this very much looks like English mustard, but let's go with it anyway. See, a much better paintbrush, much better sound on the canvas as well. Could have done without that. Need to be more precise. That unfortunately is something that I've never been, unfortunately, but quite precise. I don't know if you can tell in the video, but I don't have the steadiest hand. My hands are a little shaky, and I suppose one of the reasons for that is that I'm very double jointed. So my fingers can do a mean party trick. They can bend very far back. I suppose when I say far back, I mean like literally the back of my hand. I'm going to have to put a bush there. Oh no. This is the problem with... I shouldn't be painting over a wet bit, should I? That's more for me. I'm in a rush. Why am I in a rush? This is a mindful activity. Don't need to rush. But yes, my fingers can bend very far back, which means I think over time has caused a little bit of issue with either the blood flow or the musculature of my hands, and it means that they can shake a little bit. So what's really frustrating is that, you know, I'm quite experienced in, say, public speaking. So I feel that I can, you know, I'm very confident at public speaking, but if you were to see me before I went on stage or something and started speaking, you'd think, oh no, he is super nervous, look at his hands, he's a quivering wreck. What can we do to help him? Oh dear. But actually it isn't the case at all. I just have shaky hands. So for all of you out there who are sensitive about your hands being shaky hands, crew, unite. Okay, so that's our pathway leading down. It's okay from the point of perspective from this pathway, but I can see that we definitely need to create some sense of like this is going down, this is like heading down. We're gonna have to figure that out and how we make that happen. But I suppose we can add a little bit of I'm gonna mix a little bit of grey in with the rest of this, darken it up a little bit to create our kind of car parky area down here. There we are, a little bit of precision for you there. Shaky hands be damned. There we are. Two little areas. Okay. Then you've got here, let's add a little bit more dark to the path. Because we've got I mean the actual stream is far look like the brook just disappears into a subterranean underground layer, but that isn't the case. It does actually continue along there. I've probably lost my ability to do that with the sheer amount of colour there, but hey ho, you never know. We could get lucky and it could still make sense. I'm gonna speckle some darker, get a sense of texture. This is actually giving it a sense of texture. Here we go, just kind of Jackson Pollock it a bit to give a sense of the stones. Not sure this is giving the sense of stones, it's just giving the sense of muck, but it's still a mucky pathway, so that's, I'm just being it's just very impressionistic, guys. I'm just being very impressionistic. That's all. Go with me on this. Trust me. I'm a painter. He says on his second ever painting. There we go. Okay. The general outline of this painting matches what was in my head. The application, of course, very different, but it's still, it's just the beginning. It's still just the beginning. So, let's do the brook. Now the brook, I obviously want to make it clear that it's water. It might have to be a bit impressionistic here again, but the water might work as part of the, let's say we've got the sky colour, but we mix a little bit of dark into it. So we kind of got a darker, muddier blue. Would that work? Oh no, I'm using the, I don't want to use that brush, it's horrible. I'm going to have to just, I don't know, place these brushes in white spirit for overnight or something, create a, if I'm mixing in the pathway with the blue, that does look like it's creating a bit of a, does that create a, okay, that does create a different tone, and it is a bit more watery. Here we are. Lovely. Well, it's not lovely, but at least it's different to what I was painting before. There you go, there's a little brook, there's a little brook. Right, now we've got our basic landscape down. You can kind of get the impression of different levels, but we need to look at adding depth here so we can clearly see that it's so from a perspective you wouldn't be able to see the ridge here, you would start to see the ridge here, so would that mean it falls in a kind of shadow? Let's add a little bit of our dark to a little bit of our green and see Does it look like it's adding a bit of extra depth? Well, let's add a little bit more of it elsewhere and show that this is a curvature here, so there's a bit of depth to these hills here. There's a kind of ridge here creating a bit of a shadow. Let's say there's definitely one being cast here, back here. Sunlight would be creating a kind of shadow effect across all of it very easily, wouldn't it? Then you've got kind of different levels of ridge down here. Doesn't work as well when the colour isn't as consistent, so it's quite consistent there, but we've got some big old ridges there, so let's see if we can paint over those with our original colour. Oh dearie me. A lighter colour there. That was not our original colour, folks, but still. I don't know what that is, but let's just layer over the whole thing then, so it looks like that's of course what we were supposed to do. Of course it's what we were supposed to do. That was just a base coat. You know, when I was growing up doing art, I often used to think this is, you know, a really fun subject, but I used to somewhat resent the educational aspect of it. It was always a case of, you know, why do we have to learn all of this theory and technique? Isn't art just about expressing yourself? Like, you know, let us just go with what's in our heads and let us be, man. But of course, he says that now thinking, oh yeah, actually, this all requires technique to be able to manifest what it is that's in your head to actually appear on the page as you want. I'm certainly making this look a little bit more of an interesting multi-shade green, at least by this happy accident. There we are. And now I found a way of creating a bit of distinction between this hillside and this floor by the road, this grass by the road, which is nice. So I've got that at least. Okay. Lovely. Let's just carry on layering up a little bit more colour so it's really consistent. There we are. The great memory of my father being up here and throwing a stick for our dog when I was much younger, and he just completely stacked it. He fell on his butt as he launched the stick forward, and a great laugh was heard by all. Not sure about what I've done there at this end. This looks a bit ropey now. Let's try and smooth that out a little bit. Okay. It's coming together a little bit. So, next up, you have a bit of life on these hills. These hills are completely chock-a-block with like brambles, like orange, deep red and yellow brambles. Particularly this side, it's like dotted all the way down it. You have the occasional tree as well, rising off into the distance. That's why I want to put a bush here at the front, but we'll need to give that time to dry. There's a lot going on there. You've actually got, if I remember correctly as well, some craggy rock along the edge of this alleyway, which I don't know if I'm confident enough to do. I don't think I've really factored that into the design of the piece to begin with, really. While we let it dry, let's try out a bit of palette work on the clouds themselves. So I don't know if this is going to work. This could be very risky, but I'm not too sure. I mean, again, this is quite often indicative of who I am. I want to give something a go, but I have actually not really looked at how to do it at all. So I have this palette knife, I have this white. My thinking is that you either apply the paint directly to the canvas and then palette on the colour as to how you want, or you place the paint on the palette and drag it across. I'm going to go with the more conservative instinct here and place the acrylic on the palette as opposed to the canvas. And let's just see what happens if I put this on like this. I mean, okay, it's okay, but it's not any different to what I'd expect a brush to do. Am I doing this right? What am I doing? I mean, actually, I'm kind of, okay. I suppose I'm creating more of a... This is it as well, right? Clouds, I bet, are one of those things that are actually, you're like, oh, there's just like white stuff in the cloud in the sky. But actually, it's really quite hard to do properly. I mean, that unfortunately looks now like a bird has come along and relieved itself on our canvas. Let's try and rectify this a little bit with oh no, one of the terrible brushes. Let me try and break it out of it. See, okay. To do a bit of a rescue job on these clouds now, what I've done with the palette. Yeah, so I think that the thing about clouds is that they are quite hard to do without looking pretty naive or childlike, or you know, the kind of typical kids book cloud that you might see. I mean, this is mixing quite well. There's a nice bit of softness there between the blue and the white there. But I think you also have to just keep, if I had a new one here, I tell you what, I've always had a massive appreciation for artists, painters, anyway, but my appreciation for like the greats, like the classic painters, your Da Vinci's, your whatnots, is just increasing with every stroke of the brush. It's to walk into the National Portrait Gallery and see photographic paintings painted hundreds of years ago, the technique, the ability to produce work of such a high, beautiful standard, it just never ceases to amaze me. Of course, the key difference between myself and them is that I'm smashing out these paintings in a hour-long-ish ASMR video, whereas of course they'd get commissioned and spend sometimes years on putting paintings together. So, you know, there's that. But it's also the age of them, isn't it? Like the age of some famous artists where you just think, wow, I was concerned with getting football stickers or watching certain movies on television, and they're out producing like epic masterpieces that would stand the test of time. But then again, you can't compare green orange. So I need to dull that down a little bit. I think I'll mix it with the path paint to create a dimmer ready orange, a dirtier orange. And of course the thing is that these hills in reality aren't uniform in their greenness. They have all kinds of different colours. They'll have all kinds of different shades of green and yellows and whites. So what I'm doing here, what I'm supposed to be doing, is popping my brambles down the side of this this hillside. There are a lot of brambly bushes running down it, and they create almost like a forest of their own, designed like a forest of their own. Like a forest of these deep, rich purples. Purples, what am I talking about? See, English gentlemen, you're never going to make it as an artist if you can't even label colours correctly. Purples, what on earth am I talking about? There we are. I suppose this is the kind of red that these brambles are, but they don't, they don't really look like they do in real life. I suppose nothing looks like it looks like in real life in this painting, to be honest, but do you look at that and get a sense of, yeah, I get what that is, that's brambles? No, you probably don't. You're saying, why is this man turning a hillside into a leotard? But this is what's on it. But again, another lesson to be learned. Got to find ways of impressionistically designing things like thickets and undergrowth in a more coherent, compelling way. I mean, there really is this much bramble on the side. There's loads of it. Like virtually the entire side of this wall is bramble, but close one eye and really blur and squint with the other, you can get a real sense of bramble. But only if you do that. And actually you probably get a better sense of bramble if you close both eyes and picture what a bramble looks like. That's probably when you get the best sense of a bramble. Isn't this a wonderful work of art that you would see hanging up in the doorway of your home? The hallway. You'll know when I'm officially broken and sold out when I'm putting these paintings in the merch store of the English Gentleman ASMR and charging £200, £200 a painting. Wow, look at that brambly hillside, you guys. That's so brambly. Then on this side you do have the occasional bramble, but actually, yeah, maybe here I make sense of what that is by having a bigger bramble sticking out here. Yeah, I could do that. You do have a few, the odd tree as well, sticking up off the side of the landscape, so I can pop one of those frozen while I still wait for this pathway to dry. We're nearly there, folks. We're nearly there. So let's take that dark brown umber, what is it? Umber brown or whatever it's called. Where have I put that? Raw umber. Let's pop some raw umber on the left side of our valley. And we'll have a happy little tree. Let's pop a bit of it into the black and what brush shall I use? This one will be fine. Okay, let's pop so back here. You see, if I do that, it's going to be you know what, I'm gonna do the base of our bramble hedge here. I'm just gonna do this up front now. I don't care that's gonna mix with the other paint. It's gonna be that kind of colour anyway because it's somewhat translucent. So we've got they're very spindly. Lots and lots and lots and lots of spindles. And then of them is very red. Orangey, thick leaves. And they are very bushy. So we can do a few of them here. They coagulate together very well, very nicely. Lots of thick bushes. Let's just get the impression, the sense of them underneath, because we're going to add branches to them anyway, leaves to them. And this adds a little bit of focus pull at the front of our painting. Again, I just can't stress enough, I know that this looks childlike, it doesn't look amazing. It doesn't look like, one of the like either an ASMR artist or a painting artist that you'd follow on YouTube for, painting tips and lessons, but what I hope this does do is if you do have an interest in painting that you just go and do it, because I am so enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. It's creating such a it's just so nourishing. I know I said this last time, but it's just so lovely to do. I can add a little bit of there's some branches down here on this tree down below. There is a nice old tree that's like hanging out of the side of the okay. Then we have, of course, our brambly hedge. So let's pop the last finishing touch, which is try and mimic the green that is. So I've got the dark green there from the clouds. If I can just add a little bit of extra colour and tone, we've got a cloud there, which, if the sun is being cast over it, would create a sense of shadow and depth there. Just adding just a little bit of extra dimension, a little bit of technique, so the artist looks like he knows what he's doing a little bit. Okay. And then we just got a little bit of colour to add back down here. Sorry, a bit of green to add down here. Just get rid of this bit down here. Whites. Lovely. Okay. A little bit of height to the side of the bank by the road. There we are. There we have it. My second ever painting. Again, I'm trying out different techniques and seeing what works and what doesn't.